Angels. We all have them. They're our unseen guides, our companions, our teachers, and they're all around us. Sometimes they make themselves known in the most miraculous ways. Join me, Level 3 QHHT practitioner, angel communicator, and Reiki master, Christy Clemens Hoffman, with stories from real people who have experienced uplifting phenomena and real-life angel encounters. And now we have Rachelle, who tells the story of her mother and a beautiful, beautiful passage. Rachelle, thank you for joining me today. And would you like to tell your story?
Yes, Christy, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
So, tell you a little bit about my mom. We didn't have the best relationship, and I would talk to her maybe like once or twice a year for our birthday and Christmas. And when I was young, she had a lot of health issues of a couple of strokes and some other things that I can't quite remember, but she was fine. Like you would never know that she had a stroke or anything like that. But as the years passed, when she started having more health issues, I live close to my mom, about 20 minutes away, and my brother lives 4 hours away. My sister lives 9 hours away. And so I was the one that needed to take care of her. But before I get into all that, I wanted to let you know that she went to church every Sunday. She did all of her Catholic. She was just very,
Yeah, she was devout, wasn't she?
yes, very much so in the Catholic, yes, Catholic church. Everybody in town knew her. She was very involved and always had a rosary with her.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, always did. But when she started having issues with for about 2.5 years, I would take her to hospitals, specialty doctors, trying to figure out what was going on with her. And she had 2 aneurysms in her stomach, and she had emphysema, she had COPD, congestive heart failure. But she was doing quite well. We just had to, I would say about every 2 months, she ended up needed to go to a doctor or was in the hospital. Nothing too long, just in and out all the time. And then as the years went by, she was also on oxygen for like 5+ years. But as the years went by, it was time to start looking at assisted living, which she wasn't happy about, but it needed to be done to make sure that she had good care because living by yourself wasn't the best thing when you're weak.
Right.
So in 2020, I had an appointment set for her on a certain day, and she was actually excited to go pick out her room and talk to the facility. Well, that morning of, she called me and said, don't call 911, which I've done in the past several times. So that's why she said, don't call 911. She's like, I need you to come pick me up. And she sounded awful. Her voice was really shaky. She said she couldn't get up and walk or move. And a long story short, I ended up calling 911, and she was in the hospital for, I would say, 7, 8 days. And the hospital told me that I needed to find skilled nursing for her. And I didn't even know what skilled nursing was. I didn't even know what was happening. So I went around the facilities and nobody would let me into the facility. They would say, you need to go back to your car and we'll send you a link and you can look at the rooms. And I was like, this is not going to work for me. I need to feel the energy of the place. I need to actually talk to a human. So that was a very difficult task being 2020. Nobody wanted to talk to anybody. Well, I went into this place and it was called the Resort of Olathe, and they allowed me to walk in the place. The guy actually showed me around and showed me a room that would work for her. They had like a waiting list. And I just feel like he moved my mom up on the waiting list. I have no idea how my mom got a room so quickly. And, he treated me very human, like nobody else did. And I just felt like that was the great place for her. So long story short, she got into skilled nursing. And then they have 3 different levels: skilled nursing, assisted living, and then an independent living. Well, after about, I think, a month and a half, she moved up to her room, which was assisted living. And so she was there for a year and a half. In the beginning, she wasn't very happy, but over the months, she ended up liking the place. She developed good relationships there, and she was known as a room that people would like to go visit her. She would cut people's hair. If she saw a little hole in someone's jeans or clothing, she'd like want to make a patch for the clothes. My mom was like very prim and proper. Everything had to be perfect all the time. So if she saw a flaw in somebody, she'd let them know. And they just created a little family with people. They would go into a room and she would hand them rosaries and they would pray together. like on Easter Sunday or Sunday, just to have church. She wanted people to know about the Catholic faith and tried to get people involved in the Catholic Church. She was in there for a year and a half, and she started having, like, she'd get in the hospital and then she'd have a setback. She'd go back to the hospital. It was just about every month and a half. It was like in and out, and she just started not doing well on her own. Started having some weird involuntary abrupt movements, and no doctor could explain why she was having them. And they kind of looked like seizures, but they said they weren't seizures.
Hmm.
And they just looked really exhausting, and she was like in a lot of pain.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was just awful to see. So, like the last week and a half at the resort, they told me that there's nothing else that they could do. If they send her to a hospital, the hospital is just going to say, send her back home because they feel like there's nothing that they can do. So I contacted hospice and met with this wonderful lady. So my mom wasn't on hospice, not even a week. And something happened like over that weekend. And I knew things weren't going well. And she really wasn't going. She only met with hospice twice. So that was a very new thing. We're going to get things in order like the next week. And something happened to her over the weekend, and nobody really knows what happened. They did talk about a possible stroke, but they couldn't prove anything that
Right.
was happening with that.
Yeah. At that point, matter as much. Right.
Yeah, her comfort level was the most important thing. And that's
Right.
what hospice does. They want to make you as comfortable as possible. And so that's where we were at. So the last couple of days, I was with her for hours, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours a day. And the very last day that I was with her that morning for several hours. And I just wanted to get away to have like a mental break. And because it was just me and her in the room, there was nobody else. And when I went home, I talked to my husband. I said, I just need to get sun on my face. Let's go to the park and walk around. And I remember we went to the park. Within minutes after we got there, I was like, I got to get back to my mom. Something was telling me I needed to get back. So
Yeah.
I listened to that, and I went to her room, and there was a lady there that was getting ready to leave. And that was like the last person there. And it was the weekend. So there's nobody available. And the hospice wasn't coming there until 8 p.m. that night. But I asked her, I said, do you think she's going to be okay? And she's like, oh, it's not going to take long. And I was like, what does that mean? And she's like, it's just not going to take long. Like, hospice won't be coming at 8. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it was just me and my mom. I immediately called my husband. I said, you need to get here. And I told him to bring a music list. A
Mm.
little bit of Elvis. She loved Elvis. And I told him to find all the Catholic music that we can think of and bring all that. So he was on his way. I contacted my sister, FaceTimed her. I contacted my daughter, Caddison, FaceTimed her. And my 2 nieces, Libby and Myri, they were on FaceTime with me as well. And my brother, Kenny, he was on FaceTime too. So we were all together. And I was letting my mom know that we were all together and we were with her. And I would say it was over 2.5 hours. One of my nieces, Myri, she lived in town, and she decided to get off FaceTime and come and be with Grandma Betty at that time. So we're all sitting around. I'm holding my mom's hand. Myri's holding her other hand. My husband's at the foot of the bed, and we're just talking to her, talking about stories, trying to keep everything positive. And we get a knock on the door. My husband goes, answers it, and it's 2 of her friends that are residents at the resort of Olathe. And they were both in wheelchairs, and they asked if they could be part of being with Betty. And I was like, absolutely. I'm like, you know what? You guys were family with her, and let's all do this together. So we all held hands together, and we had a rosary in each of my mom's hands, had a rosary on her chest. She always had a picture of Jesus on her dresser. So we had that on her chest. And we were all together for like over 4 hours. And I know that she was trying to communicate, but it was just tough for her to breathe. And she had like one of those clear masks on.
Yes.
And we started saying the Our Father together and Hail Mary and trying to talk about beautiful things. And my sister brought up about, Mom, how beautiful your angel wings are going to be. Like, you're going to have the most beautiful angel wings. And then I started talking about that, and we all just started talking about how amazing, how beautiful they are going to be. And then the room got so incredibly light. And to back up a little bit, we had all the lights turned off. There was just like a slight glow in our room, and there's no way that light could get in there. It was just a very comfortable darkness, if you will. But it got so bright in there. And we were all holding each other's hands. I was like, do you guys see this? And we were just all in awe. And I was talking to my sister and my daughter on the phone, like, can you guys see this? This is amazing. And it was when we were talking about her angel wings, about how they're going to be so beautiful. I can't tell you how long it lasted, but it seemed like a long time. And I would say minutes after the light or during the light, I can't remember all the details of that, but that's when she took her last breath.
And just to clarify, there was no window that was open. There was no
There was
source of this light.
No, there wasn't. If you can visualize, like walking into her assisted living room, like you open up the door, there's like a little kitchenette living room, and then there's like a little cutout area that you walk through that's a bedroom. I
Mhm.
had those lights turned off. There was no window in that room. And then in the other room, I had those lights turned off. And then there was just a light on with just a glow, and that was it. And plus, she had a dimmer, and the dimmer was like all the way down in the other room. And when this light appeared, like it was so bright, we were just looking around like, wow, this is so beautiful. But my husband, after the fact, he like looked at the dimmer light and stuff. He was trying to make sense out of it. But you can't make sense out of something like that. That's a God thing, angel thing.
Yeah. I
So,
talk about God things too. So some things you just can't
yes.
explain. And everybody
Yeah.
saw this.
And with her faith being so strong, yeah, we all saw it. That's what was amazing. I've always heard stories where there's people in the room, but only one person can see something. And that's why we were all like squeezing each other's hands, like, do you guys see this? And her two friends that were there that lived there, they were just like in awe. Everybody was.
Mm.
I've always been scared of death, and I'm not scared of death anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
That is an amazing story. And there was something about your daughter as well.
Yep, she was on the phone as well, so she couldn't make it there. She was in Arizona at the time, but
Mm.
she was with us. We were all together. And my mom, she always said, I don't want to die alone. Make sure that you're here. And I always wondered, like, how am I going to know? But I did know. And you got to like listen to that. And I knew I had to get back. So
Well,
that's
from my
pretty amazing.
perspective, if I can say, we're never alone when we pass. We've got our loved ones, we've got our guides, we've got our angels with us. We're never alone, ever. Not even when we pass, but at any moment of any day, we're never alone. We have our entire team with us. What a beautiful story. And so, what came after is also a story. Can you share
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I sure can. I would say about 8 months before my mom did pass, I started painting angels. And I did tell my mom that I painted a few angels, but didn't think anything of it. But after my mom passed, I just felt compelled to keep making angels. And I've been making a lot, and I've been posting them on Facebook and Instagram. And it's been amazing with that. I have people reach out to me and ask me if I can make an angel for them. They'll talk about somebody passed from their family or something happened, or they want to have an angel for one of their loved ones. And I've been meeting people at Starbucks or have a little luncheon with them, and then they tell me their story. And it's just an amazing gift that this is even happening. And I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, been doing that. And another thing, I was in my bedroom, I was painting angels, and I just stopped painting and I was just like looking around the room, and all of a sudden my phone lit up and this podcast just popped up on my phone. I didn't have a podcast on my phone. I haven't been listening to podcasts, and it said something about angels, and I just kind of like blew it off. I was like, that's odd. And I looked around the room, and it popped up again, and I looked up and I was like, Mom, is that you? And then I'm like, no, that's not Mom. We didn't really talk about angels. And then when I actually looked at it and opened it and listened to it, I was just kind of got sucked in. And then after a couple episodes, I realized that I kind of knew Christy and that she was from Kansas City and was from the same church that I was, Unity, from back in the day. And so I felt that I had to reach out to her. And so it's about a couple months after, and I decided to reach out to her. I was like, I'll probably never hear from her. And now here we are.
My goodness.
So,
Of course, the podcast that popped up randomly on your phone when you don't
yes,
usually listen to podcasts was Real Life Angel Encounter.
yes, yes, that's what it was called. Yes.
This podcast is
Yeah, I
on
just
now.
Yes. I'm so grateful, blessed that we are connected and that you took me in to tell my story.
Once I heard your story, I knew that somehow, some way, we were going to bring it to this podcast. And I should say, by the time you listened to the show, I think the run had ended. I only put out 40 episodes of the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast because I had such a hard time getting people to contact me with their stories. But you really encouraged me to look at this again and to get it going because I think
I love
now
that.
people need this. We need to
That's
know.
incredible. They do.
We need to know that we're not
Yes.
alone, that we have beings with us. And Rachelle, I know this is not a video podcast. This is just audio only, this version of it. And yet you're in your car, and I don't know what the view is that I'm seeing above you, but it does look like an angel looking in over your sunroof.
Oh my goodness. No way.
Do you see that?
No, I don't know where to look.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh.
Right?
What? I don't see it in real life, but I see it on
Oh my goodness. You don't see it
Christy.
in real life, but you see it on the
What is
screen?
happening? Yes. Oh my goodness. I
Doesn't
don't
it look
even know
like an
what to
angel
say.
looking?
It absolutely does.
And you don't
Wow.
actually see it where you are.
No, I don't. No.
Oh my goodness.
See?
You can't make this stuff up.
Wow. No. Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
This is a first to ever happen like this on the podcast. That's how
Wow.
exciting.
My
Oh my,
goodness.
what was it you were saying that sometimes you'll hear of a story where one person is seeing something and another person is not? I feel that's
Yeah,
like what's going on here,
yeah, exactly.
right? That I'm seeing this on the screen. You're not seeing it in real life, but you are
Yeah,
seeing it
but I
on
see it on
your
the
screen
screen. Yes.
because we're talking on Zoom.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And I should add that there were some strange goings on at your house after the passing of
There
your
was, and I really truly don't believe it was my mom. I believe she passed away so peacefully. I truly know that she did. But yeah, it was a couple weeks after that, we had several things going on in our house, things that couldn't explain, like fireplace turning on, toilet seat being up, just multiple things. And my
Okay.
husband doesn't believe in stuff like that. And he's just like, no. But then it happened with him and I several times. And my daughter witnessed some things as well. And it's all gone. I think it lasted probably for 2 months. And now nothing's happened for quite some time. So my husband actually believed that it might have been his dad because he was in the bathroom. He got like chills up and down his neck. And he just said out loud, he's like, is that you, Dad? And my husband doesn't talk like that or even probably have those thoughts. And for him to say that out loud was so we kind of had a comfort zone that possibly it might have been his dad trying to reach out. I have no idea. Yeah.
Well, maybe you're making a believer of him now.
Well, you know what? Yes. He can't explain these things. And then my mom's light that came when she was passing, it was such a brilliant, bright light. I just can't even explain it.
No source of it.
It just like blanketed over the whole room. Yeah.
See, that type of stuff,
Yeah.
I think is, the unexplainable stuff, I think is so important for us to look at and recognize for its unexplainable nature. And, being a pragmatic metaphysician, I always like to look at what is the practical? Is there something creating this or causing this that could be something besides a supernatural force? And once we rule those out, because I do like to rule them out, just being pragmatic, right? But once I rule those out, it's undeniable that there is something supernatural at play. And it sounds like you truly had a supernatural experience all the way around with
Yes.
that. And the podcast just popping up on your screen when you never
It's
listen
incredible.
to podcasts regularly, right? All of
Yeah.
that
Yes.
just led to this belief, this deep belief that death is okay, that angels abound, and our loved ones never leave us. What a beautiful story, Rachelle.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, it's just the gift that my mom gave us and to know that there's
There's more.
more than us. Yes.
And she lives on in your art as well. Tell me, where can people find your art, your beautiful angel pictures?
I have a Instagram that's artistry by Mona Renee.
Artistry by Mona Renee. Yeah, we will post the Instagram link in the show notes. So anybody listening wants to check out your artwork and either purchase one or perhaps ask you to create one for them, they can do that.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Rachelle. You gifted me a beautiful, beautiful angel that is, I don't think you knew it, but I'm a Leo and it has all the Leo colors in it. shining, beautiful gold. She even looks like me. And I just treasure that and can't wait to get it framed and up on my wall. So thank you so much for that.
You're
And
very welcome.
thank you so much for joining me today. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Christy.
And I would like to say goodbye to whoever's looking in your window right now.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
All right.
Oh
Well,
my
be
God.
well and talk to your angels. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe and follow and be sure to share this episode. The more people who know about this podcast, the more great story submissions we get. Have a story to share? Email your own real-life angel encounter to angelencounterspodcast@gmail.com or visit radiatewellnesscommunity.com/real-life angel encounters podcast. Or join our Facebook group and continue the discussion. Want to know what your angels and loved ones have to tell you? Schedule an appointment with me at radiatewellnesscommunity.com. A special thanks to James Wheeler for the original music and to Tiffany Baumgarten for the logo design.